required by the county subdivision regulations. An engineer registered in the state of Montana shall certify all improvements as meeting county road standards. So there is the signed stamped certification of the roads, or road, I guess I should say. And along with that, number 12, I don't have anything to give you, but it's also concerning roads. The internal access road shall be given a unique road name that is reviewed and approved by the county planning department. So, I was given the name of Kelly Lane. The signs are not in place yet, they're still in my office. I think they were waiting for the ground to be a little soft. But they've paid for the signs and we've got them all. Number 13, the final plan shall be prepared in accordance with applicable state survey requirements, Montana Subdivision and Plating Act survey requirements, and the county subdivision regulations. And it's been signed, stamped by both the surveyor and our family land surveyor. Number 14. And this is the commission required covenants. Do you want me to read each of them exactly?
Yes.
Yep, I said so. I just don't want to bore you with these if that's not something you want to hear. Number 14, the book and page reference to the restrictive covenants filed with the county clerk and recorder shall be indicated on the face of the final plan. In addition, restrictive covenants, revocable or alterable only with the consent of the Board of County Commissioners, shall be placed upon the property and shall provide for the following. A, notification of the potential health risk from radon concentrations and that such risk can be evaluated through soil tests and mitigated through radon abatement techniques incorporated into structures. B, a notification that all dwelling units within the subdivision should be constructed to specifications which meet or exceed equivalent provisions in the applicable state building code for this seismic zone, which is zone 3. C, any additional replacement or relocated utility lines shall be installed underground in accordance with county subdivision regulations unless otherwise determined by the utility provided. D, any exterior lighting shall be directed downward to minimize visibility beyond the property lines. E, the International Dark Sky Program, Firewise Design Standards, and Water Conservation Landscaping Design shall be included in the restrictive covenants. F, notification of the presence of agricultural operations in the vicinity. G, a waiver of the right to protest to join a special district for the purpose of providing community water and/or wastewater treatment system improvements and/or maintenance. H, a restrictive covenant binding the landowner, any heirs, successors, and assigns, and all future owners of property within the subdivision, agreeing therein to hold Broadwater County harmless and indemnify Broadwater County from all claims, demands, obligations, suits, causes of action, damages, and liability, including the county's costs and attorney's fees, arising in any manner whatsoever out of or relating to the existence, use, operation, repair, and/or maintenance of the following. Subitem 1, earthquake fault zone and any seismic activity, and subitem 2, water availability. I, each lot shall be maintained in a clean, attractive, and weed-free manner. Noxious weeds must be pulled, sprayed, or cut prior to seed maturity. J, all cats and dogs must be restrained, penned, or otherwise under the control of their owner at all times. K, a prohibition of the raising, confinement, and/or keeping of livestock on all lots, or certain lots shall allow for livestock if a small acreage livestock management plan is reviewed and approved by the county extension agent and submitted to the county. L, address numbers shall be clearly marked at the driveway entrance to each lot and be easily identified from the road. M, a waiver of right to protest joining a rural improvement or maintenance district for the purpose of road maintenance, mosquito control, or equitably funding parks and maintenance of parks. Number 15, prior to filing the final plan, the following improvements shall be installed or otherwise guaranteed. Roads, that's been done. B, any necessary improvements required by the stormwater drainage plan, weed management plan, or approach permit, and there are no further requirements. C, utilities abutting and available to each space, that's been done. And D, road identification signs and traffic signs are bought, paid for, not installed. They will be. 16A, prior to filing the final plan, the applicant shall provide proof that all taxes and special assessments assessed and levied on the property are paid for the current tax year, including any past delinquencies. So what you have there is a tax bill showing the first half. The developer was unaware that they would have to pay the taxes that would normally be due in May because we are in tax year 2014 still. 2014 still. So Bernadette wrote the remaining amount today, so that will all be paid for, taxes paid for the current tax year. And I apologize, I wrote 17B on my sticky, but it's actually 16B. 16B, provide documentation, an abstract of title or platting certificate showing that the applicant is the lawful owner of the property with the apparent authority to subdivide the same, showing the names of lien holders or claimants of record and the written consent to the subdivision by the owners of the land, if other than the applicant, and any lien holders or claimants of record against the land. That just shows that Mr. McDonald is the lawful owner of the property, so we can move forward. And those are all of the conditions.
Do you have any public hearings on this, or have you gotten any response from the public?
No, we did hold a public hearing. There were, I believe, 3 people there, 3 members of the public attended, but we did hold a public hearing.
All right.
You know, and I think because it is, adjacent to Mountain View Mobile Home Park, the residents in the area are sort of used to that type of development.
So there were no complaints, no negative comments?
No, nothing
Right.
that set up any flags or that, made us change our way of thinking or do something different, so.
Any positive comments, or were they quiet?
They're mostly quiet. The only concern was, and I take that back, Aaron Clark and Jen Smith have purchased Bill Duty's property that is east of this development. Apparently Duty's had flood irrigated. And sound like you know what I'm talking about there with irrigation. They had flood irrigated in the past, and they had, Aaron Clark had some current concerns that if indeed they do flood irrigate in the future, he's hopeful that it won't affect this property. The fact that it's not in the floodplain, there's not really, we really don't have anything in place to prevent development because of another landowner's decisions or activity,
And
especially agricultural activity.
we have a right to farm
We have a right to farm.
resolution.
Mhm. And so, Mr. Clark and Ms. Smith, who own that property now, they didn't say that they had plans in the future to flood irrigate. That did come up in conversation. And, made the board think that you're right, but we can't do anything about that necessarily. We can't tell them, okay, well, you can't flood irrigate. Obviously, with the right to farm,
Right.
we absolutely can't do that. We also couldn't tell them that they couldn't develop here just because of some actions that may or may not occur in the future. So it just was a point of conversation and something for us to be aware of.
And something for the landowners on both sides to be aware of. I think it shows something very positive that Mr. Clark and Ms. Smith were willing to come forward with that.
Exactly.
Because they're essentially showing concern for a neighbor,
Right.
and that's nice to hear.
Mhm. Yep, and, I would think that, the communication would be open. That the county really can't stop it one way or the other,
Sure.
or prevent it, I guess I should say.
Or encourage it.
Or encourage it,
For the other
right.
side of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And with the way this road is, we couldn't build a berm up here. There just was nothing that we could do. There's no regulation or law in effect that would force this developer to do
That would
anything.
be the setting,
Mm,
because it's all gravel from flood irrigation.
sure, okay.
Any other kind of irrigation would barely do anything. And I don't think the flooding would do it. Because the sewer system already all approved and everything.
Mhm.
So, that's the one thing.
Have any of the lots have pending sales on them that you're aware of?
Mhm. And they're not for sale, they're simply going to be renting them, as
Okay.
far as I know. They are, because this will plan out a plat, so these won't have a deed actually assigned to each of these lots.
Okay.
But there's a mobile home on lot 10 here that Department of Public Health and Human Services has been involved in
Oh,
because he didn't have his license to operate a mobile home park just yet. So this has to hurry to get done, and I don't mean hurry, I'm not trying to rush, but this has to get done before he can obtain that license. So I think that Mr. McDonald, the developer, kind of put the cart before the horse and said, oh yeah, I've got this mobile home park, this is a great lot right here, go ahead and put your mobile home in there. Oh, I can't do that. Oh no. So Bernadette's really been helping him get this done, so.
All right, any questions from the board? Any questions from the public or comments? All right,
I'll make the motion that we grant approval for this plan for the Townsend Mobile Home Estates.
I'll second, I know who's done it or not.
Yeah.
it's been moved and seconded then to grant approval to the Townsend Mobile Home Estates final plan. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Super. Three, if you could sign 3 times.
You betcha.
Three. I'll be down to
Thanks,
you
Ann. All right.
after lunch, I guess up.
And I have a few extra questions for you. Whoops, I need to send each of those. Before you go. There's just 3 of them?
3.
All right. I'm gonna step out though for just 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Okay.
It's a good thing your signature's small because mine runs over. How's your dad doing?
Really good. Really good. Had surgery on Tuesday. He's still in ICU, but they're just watching for pneumonia. I'm trying to take deep breaths, but it hurts. So, but he's eating, he's walking.
Good.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's fantastic. The surgery took just way, way less time than I thought it would.
That is very good.
He had food 2 days before he was supposed to. My grandma's over there, his mom. She's decided she's just going to stay there until he comes home. So,
That's what moms do, you know.
that's right, that's right. So I'll just take my mother back this weekend and Thanksgiving, so.
What is he in Billings?
Spokane.
Spokane. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a drive, but
Mhm.
could be worse.
Absolutely.
It's cheaper than a plane ticket.
Well, to know that he's getting better.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's just it, you know, he, my uncle, I have family that lives there, I have an uncle who's a dentist, and my aunt works there at the hospital, so they're visiting him every day as well. My uncle bought him an iPad, and, my dad still has the old flip phone, I mean, you know, he's still just not very techy, but, so I had him all set up to watch the game on Saturday, you know, because that was really bummed that he was
And
gonna miss
grandson's
this championship game, and Riley, yeah, so we had him all set up to play, and so he was really pretty excited about that, that he could watch it right there from his hospital bed, so. That was nice.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Are we done
Yes.
with this? Okay, with the plan. I wanted to bring these forward. I haven't, 2 things here. I'm gonna start with Winston. I just wrote this, and I wanted to be sure that, that had what we need in order to address the Transportation Commission and follow up if you'd heard from Lori. I spilled coffee in it, so I'll print a new page, but I'd like your approval of this letter to be sent with our package regarding the speed limit at Winston. And I put 45 on there.
Perfect.
figured it gives us a negotiating place to come to 55.
Mhm. Besides that, if you put 45, you know they're gonna come out, be there at
At
55.
55.
Right.
Yeah, fantastic. Can I take this back to my office and just read it?
You can, but I would like these guys
Pass
too
around
to look
upstairs.
at it, to give your edits or suggestions.
I mailed the packet already with a letter myself. I was going to follow up with Lee today, so I'll just let him know this is coming as well. And I
Perfect.
apologize, I thought that I was to get that packet out as soon as
You
I had
did.
the approved minutes, and so I sent all of the letters, the photos, and the commissioner minutes from that meeting where, Lee and Danielle, is that her name? With the, from that meeting that they were at, so they.
You were
I sent that out.
100% right.
Okay.
Yes. I had wanted to get traffic counts for the number of cars, but they don't like to have their information used as an argument against them.
Don't know
Not
why.
necessarily against. So there's been some hesitation on getting me those numbers, so I thought, you know what, just gonna put this together, we can deal with it in person.
Mhm.
And I think even aside from that, we have enough arguments of safety
Right.
that we don't necessarily need that. That just would have been an extra
And
little bit.
Would we need to use their data necessarily? I guess I'm wondering about the traffic counts. Could we do our own traffic count at peak times, similar to what we did on Canton Lane, and just say, hey, this is what we observed?
We could, and Dana's looking at getting his own traffic counter.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Yeah, so that's most definitely something we could
Okay.
do, especially if it was in December. You know, we could show that actually it is good roads, but when it's dark, when our kids get off that school bus and people are doing 75 through there, we've got a safety issue.
Usually.
Yeah, yeah, so that, I think that would be a great one to follow up with Dana on.
Okay.
Do we wanna put in there how many trains go through there?
We can, although we don't really have, I mean, we do have a solid number, we have a maximum that go through. Yeah, I can add the
Well, I
number.
just wondered.
Yeah, most definitely. I'll get that. I'll put it down as an average,
Mhm.
because it'll differ on weekends.
Is there more or less train traffic on the weekend?
I don't know, to be honest with you. And it may be the same, I don't know. Our house is against the railroad tracks and we've seen a marked increase, but I don't mind it,
Yeah.
on a personal note.
The other day, this football game, periodically, you hear the train go through.
So we're not unique.
No.
I don't think you want that. Unless you want it, Ann. I'll get you a copy of the letter though and send this one to Nicole. I'll make, the changes to the number of trains, which I just need to verify with quick text. And then if this meets with your approval and you like it, then, I will just have it in Tammy's office for either you guys to call in or email that you want your signature stamped or sign and get it off ASAP. Like to get them off by Wednesday if that's okay. If that works for you too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's necessary, I just wondered,
Well,
I want them to know that there's more than just one or two trains going through there.
absolutely. I think that's a good one. Yeah. So, are you guys good with that if I just add the number of trains?
I'm
You
fine
good with
with it.
sending this? Okay, so we have a unanimous consent.
Okay.
So yeah, if you would just read that through and then offer, you know, any edits that you see,
Okay.
that would be great. And let me know when you hear from Lori or if I will let you know as well.
I have it on my list to follow up with Lee today
Perfect.
and see if they have a date set or a time set. I don't wanna be pushy, but I also don't wanna be forgotten. I want to get these done, so,
Yeah.
okay.
All right. Here's the other one, and this is the Heidecker letter that you and I, and you guys were privy to this back and forth with the letter. Oh, here it is, it's just a draft. But what I wanna know is, I guess two things. One is, are you good with the edits? Elaine, I did hear back from you, go ahead and send it. And then Ron brought up some interesting points that I didn't hear any response from you guys on. Who should be the contact person? My argument is that I don't believe it should be Nicole. And the reason is, this isn't really a subdivision issue. It shouldn't be Doug, because it's not really a treasurer issue. It does tip into subdivisions, it does tip into taxes. But this is really a commission decision to follow a process set forth by the state for offering or giving rebates to subdevelopers. My thinking is that somebody's going to call and be upset, and I'm not sure that those calls should go to the people who did not make the decision, but instead should come to the people who indeed did make the decision. And so my suggestion would be that the letter gets sent individually to the subdevelopers, and whoever's district it is would be the first point of contact, thereby making it the commission's duty to dissolve any anger or misinformation and get the documents sent to us by Ron, to the subdeveloper, and let them follow the process. If they already have, then they have a process to follow then. And I'm open to discussion or argument or agreement or whatever you guys think.
Did you take this one from Chris Sullivan?
Yeah, we can talk about that too if you like. I have some follow-up information on that. Right here, as a matter of fact. Okay, does that work for you? And then vet that with Susan Swimley as well as the contact person?
Certainly, I think
Okay.
it sounds great with me, and also, I think that you're wise in doing that and making it the commission's responsibility, not to take the burden off of anyone else necessarily, myself or Doug. But in my role as both the planner and the tax appeal board secretary, that could be confusing for some folks if they have the same point of contact for all of these things. If I say, oh, here's this information, if you have questions, call me, and then they call to set up a meeting with the tax appeal board and they get me again, that, I just can see where that might, right, yeah, I can see where that might be confusing to some folks.
Well, and the buck stops here.
Right,
As well as further anger them. Well, why didn't she tell me? You know, when they call with question A for the planner and then they get you for question B,
same
you
point,
don't
yeah.
necessarily know where they're going.
Mhm.
They do. And then it just gives another opportunity for being upset. I appreciate what you're saying, so
And I
thank you.
appreciate you taking this and then putting it where it needs to go. If they need to contact the tax appeal board, then they can call me.
All right. Can we ask you to be the point person who sends out the letters, though?
Certainly.
You can either, whichever one of us it needs to go to
Okay.
for our district can either stamp or sign for you, and that way there's one point of contact, and it's less confusing for us that way.
Definitely.
All right, thank you very much. So, good, we have a follow-up that I'll share with Carla first,
Okay,
and then share this with you, and it's on this same issue. It came yesterday or Friday.
okay.
I'll give that to you, I can send it to you electronically.
Super, that was another question, if you were gonna make the edits or you wanted me to make the edits, but you make the edits and then just put it on your letterhead, then I can, I have the map, obviously, showing whose district is where, and I can get it to the folks.
Perfect, I'll send it to you this afternoon.
Super.
I'll just
Okay.
take out the highlights.
Great.
All right, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And, oh, this is just Ron's email. I think that's all I had. Do you guys have any follow-up on that? Okay, all right,
We're good?
thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Well,
Mayor.
thank you. Thank you.
Good work today.
Appreciate this.
Actually, I did that.
Well, you think
Make sure
No, I know.
it's too small.
All right.
All right, do we have a COS today, Bernadette?
No.
All right. Thank you for coming for that, though.
Oh, no problem. Just in case there were questions.
Yeah, I appreciate your coming when we do have those issues, because it's nice for both Nicole and, somebody from the board to be here. I know you're just a worker bee for them at this point.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our 11:30 looks like it's a cancel. Mike Stevenson did come and try and see me right before our training on Friday, when we were trying to get through on the webinar. And I didn't get a chance to follow up with him. My guess is he was coming in to cancel. So, I don't know that this is for sure, but I think mental health, according to Ashley, they'll be moving her office to the professional building the first week of December. So I will lose my roommate.
Well, she needs more privacy.
Oh, yes, it's absolutely a great Band-Aid where she's been, but her clients do not need to be parading past anybody, so. Yeah, Chris is not the only one with questions on her taxes, and there will be some filing in protest. And I want to follow up with this. I'm a little bit concerned by a couple of things. I'm not sure how to even discuss this at this point. The increase in the taxes is by and large two different categories, and it looks like a big jump this year because last year taxes went down. So if you look at 2011, 2010, 2011, 2012, you see about the same jump annually. If you looked at that same progression, excluding last year, you would see that this year follows in the same trend line. If you look at the fact that it went down last year, what you see is a dip and then a big jump for this year. So that it's quite shocking to a lot of people, the jump in the taxes. But we do have to take into account the dip for 2013. The two areas of increase are school retirement. That is one of those taxes put on citizens that citizens don't have a right to say no, or don't have a right to vote. The reason is when we collectively hire a teacher, we promise that teacher that if they give so many years, they are going to have a retirement. When they retire, and they're one of 12 who retire, that legal mandate, that legal requirement to pay that retirement goes up. And that's one of the things that's happened that's caused the retirement fund for the schools to increase. The second thing has to do with A and B funding, and that's the school transportation. Because the number of kids drop in the school does not mean that the number of bus trips required to pick up the rest of the kids has dropped. So you have fewer A and B funding going into the school transportation fund, so therefore the community as a whole is responsible for continuing the bus routes for those kids. So again, state mandated, we have to meet a certain amount to cover the cost of school bus trips. So that's the other thing that went up. The other question that I was addressed with, not by this same email, is the detention center is broken out in the taxes this year. That's new. There wasn't a detention center mill added. There was not a vote by the citizens to add another mill, which would be required to put more money into the detention center. What happened is, in past years, public safety consisted of law enforcement, the detention center, and search and rescue. Search and rescue and the detention center were just taken out, and the number of mills divided between the three of them by the sheriff's department. So there's no additional mills, it's just they're under three categories now. So those two things, I think it would help being in the minutes for people to read that. Chris was in working with both Doug and Department of Revenue this week. I worked with Doug as well on this week. But one of the things is Department of Revenue, when they called to give me a message on this, left a message that they are the county auditor. They're not, they're Department of Revenue, and that's the state of Montana. So I think we need to have a discussion with Judy and have her back. The other thing they said is that the county if they want more money for the budget, can just mill more money.
That's not true.
That's what I said, and I thought it was, not in keeping a good relationship for Department of Revenue to put that kind of false information on the county.
We can't increase taxes without a vote of the people. Pure
Exactly,
and simple.
exactly,
That's the bottom line.
yeah. So I called Nancy Everson to ask her some follow-up questions, and she solidified exactly what you just said. And she's the one who said, the only differences are those mandated by law. Teacher's retirement, if the, PERS requirement goes through, the buses, the permissive health insurance levy, those kinds of things are the only changes, and there's strict parameters. So, I'd like to have Judy come back and discuss this with her, if that's okay with you
I'm
guys.
fine with that.
All right. So, I have not called Chris about the additional information regarding the, medical or the transportation, because I didn't know that until Friday night. Doug and I were, Doug and Ann and Mel and Bev, were all trying to figure this out, what, about 5:30? Yeah, we all stayed late.
And her tax is actually from 2012 to 2014 went up less than $52.
Yeah, we got some information to share on that, so. Did you talk to her?
No, I did not.
Okay. I thought I just sent her this additional information from these guys, and then, just call her with that information from Nancy, if that's okay with you.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So, any questions you guys have on the taxes? Bob?
When you were talking about A and B and the bus stuff, you're talking about bus routes, not bus trips, right?
Thank you. Yes, I am.
That's the
Yes.
bus routes and the transportation contracts that people get paid to bring their kids down to the bus or to school.
Thank you. Yes.
Little
Yes.
distinction.
And I think that's important, if you'd make sure that's on the record, and thanks, Bob.
Who's Judy? What's her last name?
Judy Tice, Judytice. She's the supervisor for our local Department of Revenue coworkers.
Okay.
They are Department of Revenue staff. Right, anything else on that?
No.
Okay, how about we just resume mail? I have a couple of claims here that I'll ask you to sign so we can put them into the file. There you go. I think one of those is signed by Doug, we just need to pay it from Pilot.
Do you want a motion on this then to pay from people?
Let's not do that quite yet, because I want to finish the mail for Ann that doesn't need signature, and then we'll move that into signature items.
So what does he say, how is Black Mountain working?
We need to discuss that a little bit. That's just another reason I wanted to put that aside for a minute.
Okay?
You understand this?
No, I just want you to be able to read it.
Oh, okay.
It'll go into the claims pile here in a minute, if I can move those up. Oops. far as mail goes, this is the turn lanes agreement that goes back to the 2005 subdivision, and this is the up-to-date record of payments. That is a little bit late because the check was sent accidentally without a signature, so it has been received correctly with a signature and deposited. The county stands to earn about $27,000 in interest from this.
Good.
Yeah. Next we have from the United States Department of Agriculture, records of the Beaverhead Deer Lodge, Custer, Gallatin, Helen, and Lewis and Clark National Forests, volume distribution worksheets, and cumulative set-aside program analysis reports for your reading pleasure. Thank you. Next, we have from the airport, the capital improvement plan. They are currently saving up to redo the asphalt for the runway in 2024. And this is a list of the money they have out to other airports as well as their savings plan. That'll be about a $400,000, well, $4 million project, and with the 90-10 split with the FAA, they will be saving up about $400,000.
That's very good.
Yeah. All right, next we have the open meeting policy as discussed last week with the changes. We just need signatures.
That's about done.
And this is the org chart for Broadwater County. And we should probably have a vote that we have received and agree with this.
Also moved.
What chart is that?
Organizational chart.
There's two
Commissioners
of them
and-
there.
Oh, is this completely up to date?
Should be. Do you see a possible error?
Well, Street Talk is Captain Lay's no longer there.
I can double check that with Debbie. I don't know, I don't know anything about that. I can double check. If that's the case, I will present this next week with a change. But would like a, just a vote of approval, and we can address that change next week.
Also moved.
Was that on that org list?
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the org chart with the possible singular change, for which will be notified to the board next week. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. All right. Review that. Next, we have a bill. This is from Brenda. This is a carryover about, I don't know, 9 months ago, a year ago. She hired an attorney on her own and then wanted the county to pay for it. This is that same bill plus more legal fees. She has filed suit against the county. That came through the day after the election. And she would like us to not do the county budget. We're obligated by law to approve the budget on a particular day. Her attorney filed suit stating that, among other things, because we haven't noticed or had a public meeting, we cannot have a county budget. We have returned proof that we did advertise appropriately, we did have a public hearing, that kind of thing. But we do have a bill here for a private attorney for an elected official.
I would like to see the letter from AZ before we ever do anything on this.
And I'm not sure AZ has anything to do with that. I mean, you certainly do already have a copy, I can get you another one. I have talked with Carla, and she said the only time outside counsel should be paid for by the county is when the county attorney comes forward, as she has, with a letter, with documentation, with an argument as to why she should not handle a particular case. She's a victim in the case. It isn't her area of expertise. We need special counsel for something. She's, got too much on her plate to, for some particular case, which has not been an argument brought, but it certainly could be. But those are all brought to us by the county attorney. This is a private attorney hired by an elected official for their personal use. If you guys would like that to be on the agenda, we can do that, but second to that, I don't know why we would entertain paying for private counsel for an individual. The precedent we set is alarming to me, but we can certainly discuss that.
And I'd like to take one more look at the AZ report.
That is absolutely fine with me. Do you want to bring that next week, or would you like me to bring it in the mail?
I'll bring it next week.
Okay. So until then, we'll go ahead and table that.
Mhm.
All right. All right, we have here from ESCO Corporation of Portland, Oregon, a request for credit for our road department. This is standard practice. If anyone wants to order parts, equipment online, or over the phone, they have to have a credit app. So that's what this is.
I'll make a motion that we grant approval.
It's been moved and second to sign the grant, or the application for credit for ESCO. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Franklin, if you could hand that back to me, please, maybe the whole pile, and I'll give it to Ann so that she can make sure it's all on the record.
Now, that one thing I think is yours.
Oh,
Next, we have payroll in the amount of $158,150.40.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll in the amount of $158,150.40.
one second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay payroll of the amount of $158,150.40. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And we have claims. These are the approved claims from last week in the amount of $82,021.26.
I'll make a motion to approve claims in the amount of $82,021.26.
One second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims in the amount of $82,021.26. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. There you go. All right, from PILT, we agreed to pay for the cabling upgrade for the DIS IT services. From PILT, we have two bills, one in the amount of $26,612.67.
Make a motion to repay that.
One second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to pay the DIS, this is Black Mountain. You know what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna back this up. We have a DIS bill for $1,519. And I would accept I would ask that we rescind the previous motion so that we can make a new one.
Yep.
All right, so this is DIS Technologies, and it is a upgrade, this is for the sheriff's office, of $1,519.
I'll make a motion to replay DIS, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Requested amount.
Yeah, second where she's finished.
Been moved and seconded to pay $1,519 to DIS Technologies for IT service upgrades in the sheriff's office. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Right now, we're paying for two email services, and that goes back to the records preservation request that we got, that nobody can throw away any emails, any paper, which of course we don't do anyway, but when we got that, as well as the FOIA request, both from the sheriff against the county, DIS said, we're not gonna do anything to change your service at this time until this is resolved, because they do not want any of the legal ramifications that could hit DIS. So we're essentially double paying for our internet and email services.
I don't think we have any choice.
No, and that's to answer your question about how is DIS and Black Mountain doing. Not very good at this point. Black Mountain is a different monster, but it's all being encompassed into the same thing right now. Because we cannot get the server upgrades, the email upgrades, Black Mountain is also,
Why can't we get them?
because of the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, that was filed against the county by the sheriff, and because of the records preservation request we got from the sheriff, DIS has said, we don't want the liability to hit us, so we're not gonna touch anything until this is resolved. And we do have email conversations between individuals in the department who are trying to get this resolved. And right now, we're just kind of languishing, paying two different bills.
Makes sense.
All right, so now we have the Black Mountain. This is training, budget preparation, payroll, automated clearinghouse, et cetera, for the amount of $26,612.67.
Is there a problem with that one?
No, everything is interlinked. So Black Mountain is linked with the cable upgrades, with the systems, with emails. So where one is being halted or not able to be completed, Black Mountain is having some issues with that because it's all interrelated. The biggest issues with Black Mountain is we just have some employees that need more training. And that will be a separate bill that will be coming to us to make sure that our employees have what they need to be able to do what they need to do.
Makes sense. We had a lot of election judges today.
We did. Do I have a motion on the Black Mountain payment?
So good.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
So we moved in second to pay Black Mountain from Pelton in the amount of $26,612.67. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Takes a lot of election judges to do. Really? It's a lot.
So we have, this is a Black Mountain software bill in the amount, this is for the first year final payment for web tax in the amount of $1,693.50.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay from Pilt $1,693.50 for Black Mountain software. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
How's Wynn's wife doing? Do we know?
I don't know that we should discuss that in a public meeting
Okay.
due to just the rights to privacy. All right, I think that is all the mail. The only other thing I wanted to make sure that we had an agreement, we do have, like I said, a couple of employees who need some additional training from Black Mountain. There is some thought that they should provide one piece of that training on their dime, just because they weren't here at a time when we could actually get the training. And that is the monthly rollovers and balancing. But there also needs to be more training with the general budget. And that should be paid for by the county because the individual who needed the training unfortunately wasn't here. So I would like the okay of the commission to get our employees the training they need so they can become proficient with Black Mountain.
I think it's necessary.
Yeah, maybe commission.
Okay, so we do have a unanimous consent, all right. The other thing is we had two really good trainings this week. Board of Health and the HR training with Michelle. Elaine, you were at both those. Do you want to comment on
I do.
those at all?
They were very, very good. Health took it right clear back to point one, so that we understood the need for the Board of Health and what was our role. And so I thought that was very good.
Mhm.
And the one with Michelle was regarding discipline. Super, she did a great job.
We have, it is mandatory that our department has attendance trainings, and we have two. One was Friday, the next one is coming up on Tuesday. So, just so that our department heads and elected officials know what their responsibilities are. So, we also need to have a vote. This is from last week, the election canvas. Elaine, you weren't here, but Franklin, if you could move to approve the election canvas, and then when we're done with that, you need to sign it downstairs. Okay, I will second that. It's been moved and seconded to approve the election canvas as presented by the clerk and recorder elections administrator Doug Ellis and Joyce Irvin. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Did it go smooth?
It went very smooth. There's a new process being asked for by the Secretary of State, so we really do go into a lot more detail. Then that's probably for a good check and balance to make sure everything's done right.
Mm-hmm.
But it took about a little over 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah. I expect next time it may take a little bit less time, because this was the first time, but it is a much more lengthy process. We have different forms that double check and triple check each other so that everything is reviewed and reviewed and reviewed.
Good.
So I think that's all I have. Anything else from you guys for the good of the order?
I don't think so.
Anything from the public? Any questions, follow-up? All right. Thanks, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.
Franklin, are those the claims there? Make sure we got all the mail back. This is the,
Probably
some of the double.
the worst kept secret in town is that the adult pet bus that was took out of it was paid for by an anonymous source.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
An alumni living in Texas.
Okay,
There's only 2 of them that I know that were in Texas.
okay.
One of them, I think, is now in Florida and will be pinned to lieutenant colonel next month.
All right.
That's James Wright.
Mhm,
Okay.
okay.
So, the only other one is living in Texas who went to it.
You never know. Stranger things have happened. Yeah, the only right one is
Oh, yeah, she is the, she's been payroll, and she's the head of the health insurance
So
committee,
there was a
and
week.
she is the budget manager.
Can you believe they got a bid?
to Carl and find out.
Yeah,
You know,
holy
after
smokes.
getting thumped that bad.
Yeah.